I was starting to get this vertical stabilizer finish sanded. I was looking at some of this and I was like, you know, I really want to finish sand that. It's like, wait a minute here. I got this big blocky area here that I did want to fill. I forgot that I wanted to do that. So this was originally found, I think it was Stu's Aircraft Factory. And so he suggested using some PVC foam, which you can get in big sheets here. And he sort of placed the big sheet up against here to get a general template. And now I've cut it down and I've notched out the little rivet holes here. And it fits in there nicely. What we're gonna do now is shave off the overlap here and maybe even shave it down a little bit so that we can put some filler in there. And then that way the top of the vertical is sealed off and it looks really good when it's done. If I can finish it right. If I can't finish it right, it'll still look decent.
So the first question anyone is going to ask is, why would you do this? I don't really have a good answer other than I guess I just like experimenting. There's something to be said about leaving this as is, because if you've added a piece here, there is a chance that it could come apart and jam the rudder. That's why I'm taking great care, and you'll actually see something later on in this video that I didn't like the way it was going to work. It wasn't going to bond very well. You know, you need to take very good care to be sure that anything in this situation is going to be very solid in there. You could, I mean, you could find a bunch of different ways to make it solid in there. Mainly you can just bond it in this case with the right amount of epoxy and flux, and if you sort of do it right, it'll be just fine. Does this add a little weight? Yeah. It's in the tail. Yeah, that's not great. We'll see what the weight and balance of this plane comes out to be. And you can see that I mixed that flux way too thick. That's especially, like, it's a good epoxy flux mixture for a thick for certain things, but not for this. That was just too thick, and it was not flowing at all, and it was not able to come out where it needed to go. And you can see it kind of like, well, I did some bad camera work there. But yeah, I was not liking the way it did, so I basically took it out, made some new stuff, quite a bit thinner this time, and let that come in. So anyway, once this is all done, we'll go back to working on some wiring harness stuff. I'm going to have to come up with a strategy on how to make those videos not terrible, or maybe I'll just, you know, slim a lot of it down. So come back next time for wiring harness stuff. Thanks for stopping by. Go back to real time in a second to explain this.
Well, I didn't like the way it was turning out, so I hooked it up to this little Harbor Freight movable thing anyway. It wasn't, the foam was not small enough, wasn't thin enough, this way. So what happened was it was still riding on top, and there wasn't the ability for the epoxy and flux mixture to sort of come up through these gaps and form any sort of bond from the side over onto the top, almost like a fillet. And that's really what's going to give the thing the strength to just sort of stay in there. It's just going to bond it in place really forever. So I took it all apart. I shaved this down by, you know, 32nd to a 16th of an inch. And then I put epoxy and flux back in on the bottom, and when I pushed it in, I could see it sort of squeezing upward, and that told me I had a good bond from the bottom up around the sides. And then I added a little bit on top on the sides here to sort of give it a nice fillet. So after that dries, we'll come back with some micro balloons or some body filler or some total fair, whatever it's called, and fill this in and make it nice and flat.
This is the nearly finished product here. We've got a nice layer of micro on top of here. Sanded it nice and even along this corner with the fairing. We're gonna hit it all with some filler primer to just sort of clean it up. And then it'll be wait for paint.